All right, welcome to the June 23rd, 2026 Park and Rec Commission meeting. I will call this to order. If we could all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just a reminder to please turn off your cell phones if you have not already, and we can do roll call.
Braithwaite,
Here.
Noyes, Cornwell,
Present.
Patterson,
Here.
Repan,
Present.
Tolaners,
Here.
Carlson.
Here.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any amendments to the agenda today? None. Ceremonies, announcements, appointments, and presentation. I believe we have the Specialized Needs Recreation presentation tonight.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Patterson, and I am the Executive Director at Specialized Needs Recreation. Thank you, Commissioners, for the invitation to present to you tonight a little bit about, well, a lot about Specialized Needs Recreation. Because we exist because of partnership. In 1984, Specialized Needs Recreation was formed in partnership with the City of Coeur d'Alene Parks and Recreation Department to ensure individuals with disabilities had access to recreation opportunities. From that partnership, SNR was born. For more than 40 years, the City of Coeur d'Alene has remained an essential part of this work. Beginning in the early 2000s, the cities of Post Falls, Hayden, and Rathdrum have also joined in supporting SNR, recognizing the value of recreational opportunities for individuals with disabilities throughout Kootenai County. For over 4 decades, SNR has become the region's provider of specialized recreational services, developing the expertise, the staff, transportation systems, and community partnerships necessary to serve individuals with these disabilities. Through this model, municipalities can ensure residents have access to the meaningful recreation without duplicating specialized programs and infrastructure. Together, the partnerships have created opportunities for thousands of children and teens and adults and families across our region. While our programs have evolved, our mission has never changed. Accessible recreation is not optional. It is essential to a healthy and connected community. As the region continues to grow, so does the need for our inclusive year-round recreation space. The opportunity before us tonight strengthens the city parks and recreation systems to ensure individuals with disabilities have a place where they can participate, connect, and belong. I'd like to share the impact of these partnerships and the growing needs we see across Kootenai County, and a vision for the future, one that strengthens our communities, expands access to recreation, and creates lasting investment in the people and the families who call this region home. You belong. You matter, you are strong, and you are enough. Sorry. These mottos embody the work we represent every day. They guide how we serve, how we support, and how we show up for our participants across every program. They truly are the heartbeat of our programs and are brought to life daily. Together, these programs serve the children, teens, and adults year-round, creating a continuum of support that grows with participants through every stage of life. From childhood through adulthood, SNR provides opportunities to build friendships, develops independence, helps them to gain confidence, and experience the joy of belonging. For many families, these programs are just more than recreation. They truly are a lifeline, providing connection, consistencies, and a peace of mind. Caregivers can work, care for their own families, simply take a breath, knowing that their loved one is safe and engaged and part of a community where they are known and valued and belong. It's a level of support and respite that only can truly be fully understood by families navigating the daily realities of disability. Let's begin here with our Adult Day program, serving ages 18 and up, Monday through Friday, 10 to 2. For many of our adults living with a disability, adulthood can bring increased isolation and fewer opportunities for meaningful engagement. Life Group helps fill that gap, providing the structure, purpose, recreation, and social connection in a supportive environment where participants are encouraged to learn, contribute, and where they truly thrive. Each morning, our participants arrive at SNR, where our staff provides the transportation for daily community outings and activities that you see here on the calendar. Throughout the day, participants explore the community, develop life skills, social skills, they volunteer, and they make friendships. They build their friendships. More than anything, Life Group creates a sense of independence, a place where participants are known, valued, and connected. Camp All Stars is for ages 8 to 18, runs during non-school sessions, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 3. For many families, school breaks create a significant gap in care, supervision, and social connection. Camp All Stars fills that gap by providing safe environment, a supportive environment, where the kids can remain engaged. They remain active and connected to their community. Through field trips and activities and hands-on learning, our kids develop social skills, independence, while building their friendships. Camp All Stars is a very important stepping stone within the SNR's continuum of services, because as our participants grow older, they have become familiar with our staff, our routines, and a community-based approach to creating the natural pathway into their adult life and the opportunities that lie ahead for their connection. This fall, we hope that we will be able to pilot a new after-school program for the middle and high school students of Coeur d'Alene School District 271. Beyond our daytime programs, we provide year-round opportunities for participants to connect in the evening through our evening programs and sports program. These programs bring adults and teens together for games, game nights, dances. We have a luau, a prom, holiday celebrations, you name it. We kind of don't not do anything. There's always something happening in the evenings for our folks. Our sports program welcomes athletes ages 8 and older in a non-competitive and supportive environment where everyone can participate. It's really truly skills-based and not as competitive as some of the other activities out there under the sports umbrella. It's a chance for them to build on their physical activity, which they need for strength, build confidence, and celebrate their personal achievement along with their peers. Every day, our center is filled with energy as we serve people from across Kootenai County, representing a wide range of ages, abilities, and diagnoses. As of June 1st, we have already matched last year's attendance, reflecting this increased demand in services from across our region. To help meet that growth, we recently expanded our facility from 2,000 feet to 3,000 feet by acquiring a connecting suite next door. We rolled into this 2 weeks ago. I don't know how we did what we did without it. It's incredible what we've been able to accomplish. So these extra 1,000 square feet is short term, but so well appreciated. While the additional space has provided that relief, we continue to feel the limitations of our current facility. Within our walls, space allows us to deliver meaningful programming. Beyond our walls, the transportation is what connects us outside with the community through that recreation, volunteering, learning, and social engagement. We are grateful to the City of Coeur d'Alene's shop for maintaining our vehicles And to the other community partners that we have with Rathdrum and the services and activities, they host us multiple times throughout the year for adult programming and youth. Today we had our youth program was Camp All Stars was up in Rathdrum, one of their city parks, for a pizza party and an all-day field day. So these services are truly requirements of building our strong networks and partnerships and the dedicated staff. Delivering a year-round program for more than 400 individuals requires a strong operational foundation and a diverse funding model. As you can see, our annual budget is $339,000. Our revenue comes from a combination of program fees, grants, donations, funding efforts, and, of course, manipulative support. On the expense side, the majority of our budget is directly into the people and our programs because we need staff to provide the transportation, the supervision, the recreation, all the community outings all take time and energy to plan and execute on the daily to ensure that our participants can safely engage our programs and be part of the community at large. Additional expenses include the program fuel, equipment, rent, utilities, software, things along those lines. We work hard to maximize every dollar entrusted to us through careful stewardship, community partnerships, and the support of our dedicated volunteers to maintain and commit and operating efficiently. The next slide takes us a closer look into the component of this funding model, the municipal support, how it compares to the communities where our participants live. The municipal support is an important part of our funding model, as you can see. It reflects the shared investment in recreation opportunities for people throughout Kootenai County. We are encouraged to read that in the Coeur d'Alene Press this last spring, that the city of Post Falls is actively evaluating ADA accessibility within its park systems. Thank you very much for making that a priority in your city. That commitment reflects the growing recognition that access and that inclusion matter to people that live here. This chart compares where our participants live. You can see city by city. We do have some outlining cities that are not included. Those numbers are just really small, and these are the 4 cities that we're receiving the annual support from. Coeur d'Alene is most matched up with 41 to 41% for people $2. Post Falls is home to nearly 34% of SNR participants, our second largest participant base, yet currently rates just over 10% of the municipal support we receive annually. Hayden and Rathdrum show similar differences, but they are on a much smaller scale. This information is certainly not intended to highlight shortcomings, but to rather illustrate the growing regional impact of SNR and the opportunity to better align support with the communities in which we serve. As our participation grows across Kootenai County, we believe there is an opportunity for municipal partnerships to grow alongside with us. So bottom line, we need more space. We are growing. Our numbers were met year over year in June. We've expanded. We've purchased another vehicle. More individuals and families are participating in our programs than ever before, and I've said that now consistently for the last 5 years. It's a repeat in my bed, coming off in every presentation I give. We're serving more every single year. As our attendance continues to increase, our reach extends throughout Kootenai County, and we've already matched the attendance from last year. This growth is not a future challenge. It's today's reality. The question is not how longer will we fit in this building, it's how will our communities respond to it. And that is what brings us to this next chapter of the SNR story, building belonging. Through our Building Belonging campaign, we envision a purpose-built facility designed with intention, featuring indoor-outdoor sports courts, a large kitchen, sensory room, art and creative spaces, yoga and dance studios, gardens, walking paths, program rooms, and functional staff and storage areas. These spaces are thoughtfully designed to support our sensory needs, physical activities, life skills, and social connections. The city of Coeur d'Alene has already set aside a piece of land for us on the corner of 15th Street, located at Cherry Hill. This piece of land knocks every single box on our wish list. Accessibility, location, seated in a park setting. So going outdoors and being part of the nature, walking areas and basketball courts outside, everything's right there. The accessibility to I-90 also will be very convenient for our neighboring cities like Post Falls. Most importantly, this site is part of the City Link route. A lot of our participants, many of our participants, rely on transportation from other folks. They don't drive. They rely on paratransit and CityLink to get around, or caregivers to get them to their destinations. That piece alone gives them the independence, equity, and long-term sustainability. A new facility allows us to move beyond making things work and allows us to expand the services of our growing and diverse needs of the community. What makes the Building Belonging campaign so exciting is that this vision is no longer just an idea. It is already taking shape. Community members are stepping forward as founding members, making multi-year commitments and demonstrating their belief in this project. Businesses and community partners have contributed their expertise, their services, materials, and resources, helping to move our vision from concept to reality. Their support sends a very, very powerful message. This project matters. This community cares, and the need is very, very real. Our participants are ready. Our families are hopeful. Our volunteers and our staff, well, we are all extremely committed to this vision. Together, we are helping to create something our region has never had before. A purpose-built recreation center designed to foster independence, recreation, learning, health, all the things that we spoke about tonight. More importantly, they are helping to create a place where people are known and welcomed and valued, where they can form friendships. The confidence will roll right thereafter. We see it every single day. While SNR will be the primary user, this facility is envisioned as to become a shared community asset that expands beyond just SNR. It will strengthen our partnerships and serve future generations throughout our county. This project is more than just a building. It's about investing in our people, strengthening our communities, and ensuring that every individual has a place where they belong. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the commission? You had mentioned that attendance has already matched that of last year. Is that year to date, or the attendance has matched all of last year already?
As of June 1st.
Okay, wow.
We're on the same fiscal year as the cities.
Has surpassed from last year for the entire year.
Wow.
And we've already passed.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was clarifying. And I assume that volunteers are needed.
We actually now have a really strong, healthy volunteers, but we're always looking for people that want to participate and join us.
And if somebody did want to volunteer, where would they find that information?
Our volunteer application is on our website.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I have a question. How are you different than TESH?
We are not clinically based. We don't receive any state or federal funding. And so we provide the social environment where they focus and specialize in job placement, job skills, training, and more of a clinical type of setting without it being clinical. Some similarities, we share a lot of the same participants. Their clients will come to and hang out with us some days, and some days our folks will go and spend some time over at TESH for their to get some work in.
A follow-up question.
Yeah.
With the new building that this looks great. Do you anticipate your fees to go up for the participants to be part of the programs?
At this point, I would hope not. They're all being cut. Their funding, their day-to-day funding is being cut in their own personal lives. So we will have to fundraise if just keep doing what we're doing and raise more money as necessary. The board is our goal as an organization, and I can speak with our board member here behind me, one of our board members. Our hope is that we'll fully have the project funded, and so we're paying rent right now. So it's hopefully will balance itself out. That would be our end all be all goal.
Thank you.
You already had groundbreaking?
No, we have not.
No, okay.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Continuing with the agenda, is there any conflicts from the commission to speak of?
I like their program. I've used them in the past.
The SNR program. Very good. No conflicts to speak of. Next is the consent calendar. On that are 4 items: the meeting minutes from February, March, April, and May. I'd like to make a motion, if I could, to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second.
Do I need to recuse if I wasn't part of those meetings?
I'll second it.
Yeah, you could recuse. Well, that's a good question. I think because we have so many new members, and if you reviewed them and you're okay with them, I think you can go ahead and vote.
Yeah, I would agree. I made a motion. We did have a second. Roll call vote.
And Cornwall, were you the one to second?
I was.
Yes.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Let's go with Tolleners.
I was only in attendance for the May one, so I would recuse on the vote on this one.
Patterson.
Yes.
Braithwaite.
Aye.
Cornwell.
Aye.
Repan.
Aye.
Carlson.
I'd have to vote present because I wasn't here.
And Noyes is absent. Thank you.
Is there any citizen issues tonight? None. It looks like we are on to, there's no unfinished old business, and new business action items would be administrative staff reports, beginning with impact fee study phase 2 update. I forgot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioners, I am Bob Seal. I'm the Community Development Director for the city here at Post Falls. And so I'm here to just kind of give you kind of an update. We are currently in the process of updating our impact fees. Since you're all new, I'll give a brief overview of what impact fees are and how we collect them. Impact fees are authorized by by state statute for us to collect dollar amounts from development in order to apply towards growth projects, essentially capacity projects. We're allowed to collect them for roadways and streets, parks, as well as public safety. In addition to the city impact fees, there are also KCFR and EMS fees that we collect on their behalf. But tonight we're just focused on the city impact fees. And we've been collecting impact fees for many years. Part of that is that we develop CIPs, capital improvement programs, that list out all the projects that we're looking at over the next 10 years, which is part of the package that I just gave you. It's got the parks CIP, police, as well as streets. I'm going to focus in on the parks projects and impact fees as we're looking at them tonight, and then briefly cover streets and PD. So we started doing an update to the impact fees about 2 years ago now. It was about 4 years ago that we updated them. There was a big push because we saw a huge increase in the cost of land, as well as other projects, facilities projects that we had been working on. And so we did an update to them a few years ago with the intention of coming back with a further and deeper dive into our methodologies. The big driver back then was the land values that Parks was essentially utilizing to calculate their impact fees. It appeared that we were not collecting very much money, especially when it came to the value of land. As you know, land values skyrocketed, say in 2021 was where we saw that really big hit. So our current fee schedule is listed above. And just as a note, the parks impact fees, when they were adopted, I think it was 4 years ago at this point, they were only adopted at a 75% increase above and beyond what they had been. So we had a full vote request, and council determined at that time to only adopt 75% of the increase for both parks as well as multimodal. And the multimodal fee, that goes towards bike lanes and bike paths, those types of improvements. And they were primarily looked at as streets projects. This time around, we took a deeper dive with parks and streets to really narrow down, like, okay, who's collecting for what? What's associated with the street project, what's associated with the parks, and we were able to narrow that down to make sure that we weren't collecting in both buckets, essentially. We're not collecting for the same project twice. And so we're also taking the multimodal fee and kind of putting it into the streets fee. And kind of moving forward from that. Right now we collect $12,781 for each single family housing unit. And those fees are collected at building permit fee. When the building permit is paid for, they also pay for the impact fees. For multifamily, those are apartments, we collect a little over $8,900 per unit. I talk about these because that's a good indicator. It's easy to see, like, okay, how much are we going to continue to collect for individual houses? When it comes to commercial projects, we collect on a square footage basis. So it's going to vary based on whether it's a 10,000 square foot assembly building or a 10,000 square foot restaurant. We're also, one of the other things that we're doing is we're whittling down our non-residential non-residential use list. Right now we have a lot of different uses up there that some of them kind of fall under the same general category. So we're kind of going from more categories to less categories in hopes of simplifying the process for staff primarily. So the draft fee schedule, there are two options that we were looking at with this. And I'm going to probably just briefly introduce option B because the Planning and Zoning Commission looked at option B and said, we don't like it, let's just move forward. So we're skipping, we're not going to recommend to council that we go down the option B route, but I'll touch on it. There were, under the phase 1 of this project that we completed last year, there were 3 new things that we were trying to look at in terms of methodologies, and that's what this will play into. One was scaling of single-family housing costs. So the size of the house the impact fee would be more determined on the size of the house. We recognize that a 3,000 square foot house doesn't necessarily have the same impact as a 1,000 square foot house. So we asked them to include that as an option. We also wanted an option to look at a downtown district versus the entire city in hopes of having a lower fee in the downtown so that we can help encourage development down here. That did not pan out. So that one we were skipping completely. So we will continue to have one full impact fee for the entire city, same thing across the board. And then we are also asked them to look at non-residential impact fees for the Parks Department. Right now, we do not collect any impact fees on non-residential properties. That's the commercial businesses, whether it's industrial, warehousing, educational facilities, hotels. We don't collect any impact fees for that, for parks. But there is a recognition that employees do come into town and may use our parks facilities. So we asked them to look at that. And that didn't go over super well. Well, I'll explain why in a minute. So option A looks at, it does note that there's a 14% decrease in combined average impact fees. And that'll be, I think that's beneficial. I think that people want to see, hopefully, a reduction in fees. At the same time, the city wants to see an increase in revenue. But here we are. So the draft impact fees that we're looking at, and this really, you can see how the scaling of the housing, of single-family housing can be affected with this. Does this work? Yes, it does, kind of. So our current impact fees are shown here, $12,781. While we will not be putting them into these types of buckets for the single-family homes, this is our examples. ADUs are around 750 square feet, cottages around 1,250, townhomes 1,450, and so on and so forth. So the standard single-family detached is 2,600 square feet, and that's actually taken from our last 5 years of building permits. The average house size built in the city of Post Falls over the last 5 years was 2,600 square feet. That was technically started last year, so that's 2020 to 2025-ish. I do believe we've started to see a decrease in some of those housing sizes with the a lot more of the cottage homes being developed, even some ADUs, but cottage homes has kind of been a push, and smaller lot sizes have been a push. So we are likely to see kind of a decrease in housing size. However, if you did build your standard single-family detached house, the impact fee would now be going up to $16,000. But if you were to build a smaller home, say 1,700 square feet, the impact fee will be a total of $10,674, and so on and so forth, kind of making it kind of small. And we have not been collecting for ADUs. Historically, we haven't collected for those because we kind of looked at them as being just accessory to a primary dwelling unit. However, there is the hope that some folks will be able to utilize ADUs as an additional dwelling, that people can help to achieve some of those more attainable rental options, or even potentially purchase options, because the state just created a new legislation that allows people to finance and separately split off ADUs. So we'll see how that pans out. But one thing we did want to recognize too is that a 3,500 square foot home would run $21,438 under this impact fee proposal. And we recognize that after 3,500 square feet, there's no demonstrable greater impact on the system. So that will be the cap. You can build a 5,000 square foot house and you're still paying the $21,438. So I just kind of wanted to get that. Those are the two primary things that I wanted to share with this piece of it. This is the what happens with option B if we do include the non-residential parks impact fee, is that there is a reduction. You do see a decrease in the cost for the single-family detached houses, but not a super demonstrable amount, maybe $1,000 less for your standard single-family home. And when we looked at wait, where did it go? I thought we had that in here. This was the page I wanted to show you. So this is the option B and how it really affects the non-residential projects. It would add, so you see this column here, this does not exist in our current one, an additional 41 cents per square foot for commercial office space. That doesn't sound like a lot, so I like to use the lodging and RV category as the example for that. $5,420 per hotel room. The hotel room, we got a new hotel for the first time in many, many years, and that hotel would have faced an additional approximately $750,000 in impact fees if this were in place. So we kind of felt that, and the Planning and Zoning Commission felt that the balance between economic development of encouraging commercial construction and encouraging more hotels to come into the area did not necessarily outweigh the benefits of a $1,000 decrease in single-family impact fees. So we recognize we're not going to collect any more money in total. There's still a cap that every project is every group is looking for. Parks is looking for, their $60 million worth of projects, and Streets is looking for their $60 million worth of projects, and so it's just how it gets distributed out. So we're focused on it. Still will likely, unless council has a different opinion, still likely remain that we'd be collecting just residential impact fees for parks. Do you have any questions on that piece before I move on?
I do.
Yes.
So am I hearing that because the lodging fee was so high that the non-residential fee was not counted? It wasn't a consideration?
More or less, yes. It didn't offset I think the way that everybody kind of looked at it was it doesn't offset the single family or residential impact fees enough to kind of make a difference. If it was large, like if we really saw a decrease in the residential, because that's been the push, is how do we reduce our impact fees on residential in order to encourage more attainable, more middle income housing. But it really didn't change it a whole lot. And so Planning and Zoning did look at it as, why are we already collect a relatively large fee for commercial and residential projects that we potentially do hinder the development of commercial properties, the economic development aspects to it. When we had the Flying Pickle is coming into the city, right? When we first looked at our impact fees and applied it to that project, it was looking like it was going to be about $1 million. That would actually kill the project. They would have gone someplace else. So we did utilize the best available data, and we had the consultant reevaluate what is an actual impact for a project like Flying Pickle. And they ended up coming up with a $250,000 fee, and that was based on ITE, the trip generations. That's standard in the engineering field, in order to determine how much money they were going to be paying. And so, when we look at these numbers, and even after that, they questioned whether or not they would have come to Post Falls had they known the impact fees were going to be so great. We are still the highest in the area, and that's really due to the fact that we have to plan for growth. We have land to grow. We are growing. We have a trajectory showing that growth. We didn't choose the growth rates. The growth rates are what they are. And so we've adopted those under a comprehensive plan.
I have a question too.
Yes.
So for business, obviously with the lack of impact fees directly with parks and stuff, we're incentivizing more businesses, right? That's what the goal of it is. Am I hearing that right?
That's kind of the goal. We don't want to disincentivize.
Okay. And then with that, with the housing schedule, so are we incentivizing tiny houses?
In a way, it's not discouraging them. Right now, in a tiny house spends $12,800 on it for a fee. So we really did want to kind of look at the scaling because, well, what is the actual impact? Because we do have to we do want to justify our calculations. We have to justify it, and that's why we do this study. So they did look at, okay, if it was a tiny house, do we have a family of 4 living in a tiny house? No, we don't. Not likely. So the tiny house, there was an implied average occupancy of we'll just say an ADU of 1.1 people is the implied occupancy. Whereas if you get to the estate home, it's an implied occupancy of 5 people. So that's kind of how those calculations ultimately suss out.
Gotcha.
And the typical home size is around that 2.5 people per household. Actually, I think I found it later in this. It's 2.29 they've got them calculated at, is the typical size nowadays. So.
my thing with that is like with ADUs and cottages and townhouses, I mean, a lot of people Airbnb those, you know, like they rent them out. And so, I don't know. It's interesting because it looks like, you know, we're almost incentivizing renters rather than people buying houses.
Well, you can kind of look at it as ADUs and cottages, people that are renting them, you're not necessarily likely to have any more people staying in that Airbnb than you would if it was a typical house. So you're still likely to only fit 2 to 4 people into that unit, based on the size. And actually, if it were Airbnb, they're typically not rented 100% of the time. So there is even a gap. So even if we did look at it that way too, that there's likely a decrease in the actual usage from those. But we're still treating them as if they were one single family unit.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
I understand what you're saying about the hotel fees, how it doesn't offset, but why not still charge them an impact fee? Because you have things like Ironman, for example, or the Post Falls Triathlon, where we're bringing athletes in and they're staying in the hotel that was just built. I'm not saying charge them $750,000, but why not look at an impact fee because they are using our parks, our trails, our roads?
Yep. And that's what we looked at. And we will take it to council, and they will have the opportunity to opine on it as well.
Okay.
That's why we did it, because there is an impact. I'm just saying that after P&Z reviewed it, that was their blush. And P&Z works as the Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee, something like that. And so they're the ones who do get first blush at it. They get the first look. They get to make a formal recommendation to council regarding those impact fees and whether council should adopt them as submitted or if they want to make any modifications to them, any recommendations they're allowed to do. And then council can either take that recommendation and go with it, or they can make a different decision as well. So, but we will present this same information to council regarding those non-residential impact fees, because you are right. Well, and so for instance, like I don't live in the city of Post Falls, but I work here every day, and I use our trails almost every day. Granted, you know, my mile walk doesn't take me very far, but you know, I do use it. So that's kind of the thing with it. And they do show that there is basically they break it down, and I don't have them on here because I told them not to provide us with that much detail because they did it previously. They broke down how many hours the typical person that lives here can spend in a park versus how many hours an employee could spend in a park per day or per week. And they even broke it down to the point where, you know, 79% of the city's workforce leaves the city. So those people aren't here. So they actually take that out of the calculation for that. And then it's the percentage of people that do come here, the approximately 10,000 people that come into the city to work, how many hours are they here for, and what's that window of time that they might be able to use the park? And they kind of put it as, I don't remember if it's like 4 hours a day or something like that. But it's a smaller window, but they have something there. So, but yes, so we recognize it. Coeur d'Alene did implement it for theirs, and they only implemented it, I believe, for the hotels. They didn't do for any other types of commercial businesses. But Coeur d'Alene's impact fees are half hours currently. So, and they also looked at their parks CIP and did a lot of diving into that, and they actually reduced the amount of land that they anticipated purchasing in order to address their impact fees. That's how they decided to bring it down. And, you know, as opposed to our city council last time, just taking a swag at it and reducing it by that 75% of the increase only.
So am I to understand that impact fees are based on the cost of the project, not necessarily on the impact to the city?
So let's move along here. Here we go. Parks facilities. So Parks and Rec staff put together a CIP, capital improvement plan, that covers the next 10 years here. Near-term CIP projects and medium-term CIP projects. And these are projects that are anticipated to be needed based on the growth over that 10-year period. Our current growth rate indicates that the city will probably grow at around 22,000 people over the next 10 years. And so the Parks Department, that impact of that growth is looked at on a per person, per household population. And so that's how it ultimately broke down all the different categories. But in the end, the goal, essentially with impacts, if we actually grow at the rate that the population growth is showing, and we do grow 22,000 people over the course of the next 10 years, these are the projects that should be completed and implemented in order to account for the growth. Based on your current Parks and Rec master plan and the level of service that was determined when the master plan was completed. And so within this, you can kind of see a lot of these are very specific projects that they recognize that they will be needing to do and planning to do. And this is, again, based on the Parks and Rec master plan. When you get into the medium term, a lot of these are also pretty specific because they recognize where they're going to be at. And these don't necessarily, like I'll take it from like the streets perspective. You know, we recognize sometimes that a project that's on the nearer term or medium term aren't necessarily falling just within those 5-year windows. We might decide suddenly that there's been a lot of growth in one area, and so therefore we'll bump up one of the medium term ones into the near term piece. But you're still collecting a bucket of money to put towards these projects. And then finally, they have an undefined project locations. And this is kind of where you begin to look at the land acquisition piece for future parks. And this is based on the level of service that the city currently has of X number of acres per 1,000 people. And I believe that the goal that was written in the Parks Master Plan was 6 acres of level 1 per 1,000 people and 10 acres of level 2 per 1,000 people. And so that's what this is based on. With a 22,000 growth population, there's the expectation that we'll need 142.8 acres of level 1 and 37.5 acres of level 2, plus some trails, in order to meet and basically stay at our existing level of service per 1,000 people. And so that's how this was calculated.
Is that the multimodal trails?
And that's the multimodal trails. So the trails are, when we met with parks, I believe that was the primary focus was, okay, we've got the Prairie Trail is the biggest piece of it. Extension of, the Ponderosa Centennial Trail. And west side of town. Oh, that's right, west side of town, which we've got some hopes for getting some trail out there over the course of the time too. So, and then all the street side type of bike trails, say along Prairie Avenue and along Pole Line, those are ones that I would fall under the streets multimodal, because those are typically constructed with your typical street projects. So, and so option A, option B, again, we kind of, they dug into, the total cost of the projects. It was $68,737,000, and this is for parks. They noted that some of those was not capacity share, was a non-capacity share, so they did deduct 1.9 million and change from that to create the impact fee eligible cost of $66,816,000 minus the current balance of their accounts, and you end up with that 57 million plus some compliance pieces in there and admin charges when we get down to that 59,344,000 and change. With again the projected change in population of 22,550 people, which equals an impact fee per population of $2,600, give or take. And so that's how parks ultimately came out. Again, looking at let's see how they did this. We didn't actually go over this in planning and zoning because they were done with talking about that by that point. So So we did look, they did show how they broke down option B, looking at that non-residential piece, recognizing that residential still makes up 91+% of the impact, and then lodging and RV and the non-residential. Lodging and RV itself was at 4.1%. So they recognized, and we kind of did break it down that we only expected maybe 450 new rooms or RV spaces over the course of the 10 years. So it didn't spread it out a whole lot either. And so, that could be part of the reasoning why so much of that fee landed at the feet of the hotels. But again, they are also a larger impact. So, and yeah, this was also focused kind of looking in at the non-residential piece for the other commercial uses. But, so in addition to parks, we also collect for public safety. Public safety is looking at, the police department is looking at an expansion of their headquarters, a headquarters renovation, expansion of the parking lot, which they are actually currently doing right now. All these numbers are based on a March 1st timeline, because we had to set a piece at a time period, and so it's based on March 1st. And so the expansion's happening now, but we are continuing to collect impact fees for it. And they're also looking at doing some storage and wireless facilities to help them out. They see a small percentage of the collection compared to parks and compared to streets. For instance, they only collect $1,700 for a single-family detached house. There was also the recognition that 87.63% of the police's needs are generated by residential properties. Only 12.37% are generated by non-residential. And that was based on calls and the zoning within that call area. So, transportation, again, another large CIP. And this is again focused on the improvements to the roadways in order to handle the capacity of the new construction, whether it's residential or commercial. And they break these down by trip generation, how many trips are generated by the different use types. So, and this just kind of goes into the detailed project lists. And again, for streets, it came down to where did we land at? Do we have the total cost? Roads, total transportation, $50 million worth of projects, which comes down to their multifamily impact fee. They were trying to give some kind of basis here, $1,500 for that. And their fees actually went down, comparatively speaking, as well. The only fees that went up this year are parks. Which means you collect more money for your projects. So that's the good view of it. So any final questions? Anything you want me to go over again or look at closer?
No,
Great idea.
I understood it.
Yeah.
You said this fee started 4 years ago?
So we started collecting fees in the probably early 2000s.
Okay.
And gradually have changed. And for a lot of years, the whole goal of Post Falls was to be the cheapest. Don't be more expensive than Coeur d'Alene. That was the big one. Stay less than Coeur d'Alene. But then about the time that I started here in 2018, we were starting to wrap up the latest impact fee in 2019. And we were showing that we were going to be at or around, we were going to be more expensive than Coeur d'Alene. Because Coeur d'Alene had not updated their impact fees since 2005. And there was some discussion. Hey, should we be more expensive than Coeur d'Alene? What are we doing with that? Because there was a concern about economic development. So we updated the impact fees in 2019-ish. But within 2 years, we recognized we're not collecting enough money for the land values that are now skyrocketing. Between 2019 and 2021, land values skyrocketed. So there was a reevaluation and a relook at the projects that we had in there, plus what was the cost of the land. So we did that, and that's when we updated it. This last time was around 2022. And then in 2022, there was also this recognition, hey, we're charging a lot of impact fees here. Let's go ahead and look at this again. Let's look at our methodologies and actually do a real study like we had done in 2018 to see if there was a different methodology to do. And that's when we started looking at the non-residential impact fees, started looking at the scaling, and started looking at the downtown districts. And that we didn't kick that off until 24. It took us a couple of years to, everything takes so much time. It just does. But yeah, so we have had higher impact fees since 22, but, and now we're, again, looking at these and taking another wag at it. And hopefully we don't have to redo a study for 10 years. I mean, we'll update our CIPs as we go along to make sure that we're still collecting for the projects that we want to do and need to do, and we will update. They get updated every year following like the ENR index, Engineering News Record Index, so that we're keeping up with some method of inflation. So those are adjusted in October of every year. So.
Any further questions? None?
No.
Thank you much.
Appreciate your time.
Next on the agenda is the Park Maintenance and Operations Staff Report.
Good evening, members of the commission. Brian Myers, Parks Manager, and we're just trying to provide a routine update from each of the divisions across the department. So this month is my turn. So I'm going to just give you a little update on where we've been in the last 3 months or so since I last gave the last update, and what we've got coming up on the next period of time. So last two and a half months, we've been busy getting things deployed for the season and getting some new amenities online. You can see the team in the photo here getting the Black Bay Dock ready for the first summer season. If you haven't been down there for the year yet, when the next time you visit, you'll see that the barricades that sit on the beige side of the dock structure have now been removed. A couple of our team members here getting into the water and getting those things removed for the season. It is intentional that some of those grates are partially submerged, as you might remember, those that were involved in the design process. It's kind of a splash deck, if you will. It's intended for that to be a zero entry, accessible ramp down into the waterway for folks that may have some different levels of mobility to be able to interact with the waterway, and a couple of stairs that would let them transition down into the water and move themselves about that way. So all intentional. We didn't miss the elevations when that was constructed in the last year, and that's why it has that grading system. We'll be watching how that plays out. We've got some additional Adirondack chairs that have been deployed in that location, picnic tables going out, nets going up. All of those sorts of things are spring tasks that are online. We also see a large number of picnic shelter reservations, particularly in the spring. Late May, early June, graduation season tends to be a big increase. Looking at year-over-year numbers, 25 versus 26, we're roughly 117 if I'm last year to date. This year we're 123. So we're seeing a 10-15% increase of picnic shelter reservations year over year. So definitely seeing increases in the utilization of our park spaces to kind of generally match the increase in number of facilities. We saw some additional shelters come online this year with Black Bay, Warren Playfield. The upgrades at Ward Bridge additionally had some shelter space. So whether that's growth-related demand or additional facilities coming online, we're seeing some additional increase in utilization of those spaces. So all that's great news. Additional seasonal equipment that's been deployed, we install some tents out at Kiwanis Park for camp, various swim buoys and such to go out from a safety perspective in the waterways. Those are tasks that we've been working through. Summer seasonal tasks, so this is what we're heading into over the next short period of time. We've got our second round of fertilizer applications that we try to get before the heat of summer. Those are underway, if not completed. Irrigation is a big focus of our team for the next period of time. Talking with Chris, we certainly recognize that when the valves get turned on for the year, it's a full-time job to maintain those systems. It's a constant churn of maintenance. Mainline breaks that are discovered. We had, in the last period of time, we had a mainline break going to a splash pad. Pretty unexpected. That sort of thing doesn't happen very often. Thankfully, utilities came out and ran their Vector truck and saved us probably a full day of digging, because the mainline break going into that was about 4.5, 5 feet deep. And staff was able to make the repair the next day and get that amenity back up and running coming into Saturday. So thankfully, we beat the weekend rush and the warm weather. So building maintenance, building repair, I would put it more or less, we don't do a lot of maintenance on our structures other than general routine custodial maintenance. We're just trying to keep the wheels on the bus throughout the summer months to get through to fall when we can do some of our major maintenance going into winter. But we do certainly see an uptick in building repairs this time of year, and that is a function of our park maintenance team throughout the summer months. We've already completed our shrub bed pre-emergent applications. We continue with post-emergent herbicide applications throughout the summer months, just to try to reduce the amount of time folks are on the hands and knees pulling weeds and such. So that is certainly a part of our work this time of year. But we also have some staffing and events that we are a part of. This photo is from our recent America 250 Historic Food Festival. That was a first-year event that we partnered with the Jacqueline Arts and Community Cultural Center, the Post Falls Chamber of Commerce, and the Historic Society. All four of our agencies or organizations bonded together to host 7 different food vendors that all provided various food items from different periods that Post Falls has existed throughout the history of Post Falls. Great event, very well attended for a first-year event, great feedback. It appears that it may become a staple of City Center Post Falls going forward, but time will tell. It appears that it gained some legs, and the Coeur d'Alene tribe came out for the event, gave a speech, and also provided some cultural elements at the front end that was very well received by the public, and it was really a cool event. Cool to see something new being activated just on a roadway and on this side of the river. So something I've been hoping to see for quite some time, and fun to see activated. So definitely want to give a big thank you to the 3 other partners that brought that one to fruition. Memorial Day, our local American Legion partners with that on an annual basis. If you haven't been up through our cemetery on Memorial Day and seen the display of full-size flags, it is remarkable to witness the level of service to this nation that has happened from Post Falls. It is, there are many individuals that are still living in Post Falls that are veterans that we recognize, but to see the level of sacrifice that this community has offered to this country in such a striking way with those full-size flags up there, I would just encourage all of our community to make a point to get up there next Memorial Day. At the very least, go drive through. It's a very somber, very reflection-driven event. And this year, the individuals that helped bring that together, we had a choir from one of the local churches. We had some words being spoken by one of the local pastors, and then the members of the American Legion that also spoke. It was a great event and really leveled up from previous years. So a big thank you to Post Falls American Legion Post 143 and their efforts to make that happen. So, and just execute at a very, very high level. So big thank you there. We're gearing up for Post Falls Festival. That's the next one up on the gate. But right before that, we have a music event that is going to be held at Tullamore Park. I believe it is July 2nd. We've got flyers posted outside in the rotunda here that the Army Band is coming up to host a concert at Tullamore Park. So don't miss that one. They've got a big America 250 tour that they're doing across the state. They'll be in town for the parade, and they're also joining in Post Falls for that concert. And then we'll be right into Post Falls Festival for the Friday through Sunday event that I know all of you are familiar with, and looking forward to that activity. The next Wednesday, we kick off 6 weeks of market music that's co-hosted or partnered with Chamber of Commerce. So that'll be running for 6 weeks down at the landings, continuing that tradition. We have movies in the park. I believe this week is our first, this Saturday or Friday night at Tullamore Park, and the next will be at Festival, that Friday of Festival, and then 2 weeks after that, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks after that, we will be holding our third and final movie in the park. And then summer sports are about to kick off for our own internal programs, so gearing up for that. Some opportunities and challenges. Some of you will hear that this is repeated. A couple of these things are new, but we engaged in a partnership with the Third Avenue Marketplace to expand our community garden and expand some access to fresh fruits and vegetables in some previously underutilized areas of that community garden. So the marketplace has found some volunteers and a large number of donations to expand the western side of the community garden. It's kicking off as well as I could hope and beyond. Like, it's incredible to see the changes that are happening to that space and the engagement that's happening from the community and their volunteer group. Really a great highlight for 2026 summer to see that one kicking off, and really just expanding and seeing the next level of investment by the community in that garden space. Yesterday, actually, we turned the water back on to our South Freeway Corner water feature. We had a 1 million gallon water loss that happened over the course of a winter month, so not quite expected. We certainly anticipate some level of evaporation to happen with water features. We don't plan to see that, particularly in the winter months. So we've been working through that, had some additional testing done by some leak testing companies, and we think we have it identified where the issue is coming from. After this meeting, I'm actually going to go out and read the meter again, and we'll continue to track that. We're hoping to at least minimize what that leak is, and hopefully we can operate that for the remainder of the summer, but you may see that turn back off. We want to be judicious with that resource and be responsible with that. We've got a partnership with Spokane Mountaineers that went forward to council probably 18 months ago, and they've come forward with a rather large new rock climbing permit request that is situated up canyon within the burn area of the Post Falls Community Forest. Really exciting permit request that generally fits with other user patterns and generally staff's review of it. We don't have a lot of dramatic concerns. A couple of things from circulation and access that we want to work with the user groups to address some access into the site that they plan to establish these new rock climbing routes. But this particular area is exciting because it offers a new teaching area, and it offers a new teaching area that's a little bit more out of the way, so that they aren't having as much conflict with the general users that are planning to climb in the park. So when we have instructional level, all day long clinics that are going on, it may move them a little bit further away. The second appealing aspect of this request is right now we have very limited what's called multi-pitch climbing opportunities. So a pitch of climbing is a length of rope. So when you extend beyond the length of your rope, you need to secure yourself to the wall to climb the next pitch of the rock. There are a handful of multi-pitch routes out there, but there are not very many of them that are consolidated in a single location. This little piece of rock that's been discovered, largely because of the Parkway fire and how much it opened up the view shed, offers itself some unique opportunities to establish multiple multi-pitch routes in and around the same vicinity. So it'll offer a near to town, nearby access to nature, where we can provide opportunity for folks to expand their skill set, develop themselves in some ways that allow them to then go out and adventure in some of our nearby national forests. So we're not an indoor rock climbing gym by any means. There's certainly inherent risks that exist in the natural environment that don't exist in a gym, but this is one of those environments that it provides some good quality access, and we have a great partnership with the Spokane Mountaineers that it's exciting to see this one coming together. And well, we've got one more site visit we're going to do with them before we sign off on their implementation of that, so we should see that up and running for the fall, and their classes likely will be running again next summer. The general structure of that MOU with that organization is they're assisting with the management and operation of the climbing resources, so the bolted equipment that is affixed to earth out there and the climbing environment. And in exchange, they get the opportunity to offer community recreation instruction classes through their volunteer network without having to go through a commercial vendor type environment. So, and then the other challenge or opportunity that we're being faced with is an increase in number of special event requests. Amber, who sits up front, can certainly attest to the reality of the number of requests that we're getting to do some unique things in our parks that we just historically haven't received. Exciting, but there is an administrative staff burden with ensuring that the individuals that are requesting to do these new unique things, or maybe are receiving some funding or ticketing or whatever it might be to utilize their operation or what they wish to do in the park, that doesn't have an undue impact on the general community. So we made a request to City Council to include a special event permit fee request. So if you want to do something unique or charge a fee in a park or whatever it might be, there now will be an application fee to offset the administrative burden. Council supported that at their most recent City Council meeting. So we're implementing that process and working through that uptick. Just wanted to make you aware of that, but policies and procedures related to that will likely be coming back in the future works are up. And we've also talked about some of those commercial activities in years past, and at the direction of Park and Rec Commission, we're working through that initial commercial activity request at your direction. So we're continuing to operate in that, but now with this permit request or permit application fee in place. Not here for citizen comment, but just wanted to make you aware of a handful of citizen concerns that we are now receiving that are being repeated, and I think it's worthy of sharing with this group and getting perspective on whether or not it's worth bringing back as a future workshop topic or otherwise. But we're certainly getting an uptick in expressed concerns around e-motorbikes. I learned a bit about the difference in Idaho code as it relates to motorcycles and motorbikes and mopeds. Each of them are very specifically classified under Idaho law. Generally, the things we see being utilized in parks that don't have pedals would be classified as an electric motorbike. And motorbikes under Idaho code can't be operated on the roadway. They can't be operated on sidewalks. They are off-road vehicles and need to have the proper Idaho Recreation and Parks Association, or Idaho IDPR, Idaho Department of Parks and Rec, the off-road vehicle sticker, and they need to be operated associated with the rules that regulate that on the various landowners' properties. Motorized vehicles are not allowed on city property outside of parking lot facilities. So those types of activities, when they're in and across the lawn area, if it is a motorized vehicle per Idaho code, they wouldn't be appropriate uses in a park space. Now, we're not leaning hard on a little kid that's trying to go across a sidewalk to get to a playground on a scooter. That's certainly not what this is, but what we're seeing is some pretty unique use types in and around our parks, where folks are being really creative with this new technology that exists out there. So while we want to ensure we're protecting the resource, that we're ensuring that we're providing some level of education as to these nuanced rules that the state has laid out concerning these vehicles, we're going to be putting out some additional information in the parks to provide some education and engaging on the social media front related to that. So you'll likely see some of those concern, or those that being circulated and going from there. So I've had some concerns around evening pickleball activity up at Tullamore. We do have lights at that pickleball court. There are some structural or functional challenges with that particular light system. It's solar based, and the light source it operates for 4 hours after sunset, and there's no way to modify that with that particular light. So this time of year, it gets dark, or sunsets mid 9:30, somewhere in there, when that 4 hour time window starts. So we've got a couple of neighbors that have expressed concern that folks are playing music in the parking lot or off of their Bluetooth speaker and playing pickleball well into the late evening hours. So we're working on how we might be able to respond to that, and staying in contact with a couple of residents that have raised those concerns, and trying to manage that the best we can. Ultimately, we're probably going to have to look for a different light source or a different way to interrupt that light service on a different basis. So Robbie's helping out with trying to make those changes, and we'll update when that happens. And then the other citizen concern that's been cropping up lately is unscheduled large group gatherings. We don't really have a policy or a rule in place for folks showing up with a tour bus or a school bus and using a park. It's a free, open recreation area, right? So when that happens, sometimes that does inconvenience the general public. And I don't know if this group would want us to explore where those thresholds may be. I know I recently went to a national recreation area that capped that at groups of larger than 8 needed to have a permit request. It's a bit restrictive, and I think it was probably appropriate based on what that recreation area is and what it does for us as society. I don't think our neighborhood parks are that, but what is that number, and do you have something in mind? Just something that we're hearing concerns from the general public, and I wanted to pass those concerns along to you, just to make you aware.
Brian, are those local Post Falls citizens we're talking about?
Not always. The particular group was a group that was coming out of Coeur d'Alene. It was the most recent one, and there are local YMCAs, other nonprofits that are in North Idaho, in Kootenai County, but they could even be Post Falls-based nonprofits, the Boys and Girls Club, or various daycares that tend to use our parks. So
They're not residents, charge them.
It's all of the above. So, where those thresholds hit, I think is something that's of concern, so that folks are presenting. So, and really what the core of the request was, is there a place that I can go to find out that this thing is happening? But honestly, we don't know that it's happening. And then it comes down to, if we put these rules in place, what kind of enforcement arm it exists, and can we even monitor it across 37 park spaces? So a lot of dynamics that would need to be discussed. So if that's something that the commission would like to bring back in a future workshop, certainly open to exploring some options and bringing that back. But I wanted to just share that the citizen concern is happening, to make you aware, because without that awareness, it's hard to arm you for the discussion. Specific to that e-bike discussion, media, the group behind the window here behind me has been working to establish this print resource that you'll see out on social media and scattered throughout the parks in some intentional ways. Just thought it would be worthwhile to share that specific item, because this one is one that we're going to act on, because Idaho code exists there, and we really do see some just education needs among the user groups. So we want to not just run into the enforcement side. We want to make sure that we're providing good information to our public that provides some information to those ends. So 2-month look ahead, ongoing maintenance tasks. We're headlong into summer. Continued monitoring and service to community activities, community uses, and event support. We've got some new barbecues or replacement barbecues that are going in at Camelin. Foundation's already in for that. So those we hope to have deployed before the festival, but if not, they'll be shortly after. And then we've got our annual asphalt maintenance that the darn weather this spring has slowed us on our execution of that plan. We should have been most of the way through our asphalt sealing for the season already, but it seems like we're only 1 or 2 sites down at this point. So we'll be continuing to make progress on that as the weather allows. And then the next meeting, July 28th, we'll be doing our ribbon cutting at Black Bay. So that'll be an exciting event. Public certainly down there utilizing that space, but we're going to officially cut the ribbon on that next month. So with that, I'll be available for any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the commission?
Nope.
All right, thank
None?
you.
Thank you, Brian. With that, is there any additional commission comments, concerns, questions? Showing none, I adjourn the meeting. Chris? Yes?
Sorry, I was a little late.
Sorry.
Just one quick update. I'll be brief because I know it's we've run over, but Brian mentioned pickleball last month at the workshop. Robbie Quinn brought up the Crown Reserve construction and the pickleball courts that were planned for that, and we talked with the commission about the problem or the potential problem with pickleball. We're seeing it now at Tullamore, and so we just wanted to raise that concern, and the commission seemed open to exploring other options for that space that was originally planned for pickleball at that location. So what we decided, and thank you for that feedback. So what we decided to do as staff is to move forward with that space, but just doing asphalt for now, which could then be, it could be pickleball in the end, or it could be other, that we could find other uses for it in future phases. So what we would do is go ahead and lay that groundwork in an initial phase, but then in a future phase, once the community is stood up and there are actual homeowners, going out with some public outreach to see what they would like to see that space become. I see some head nods, so I just wanted to give that update. We can, I don't need anything formal, obviously, at this point, just given that update, and then for future discussion, we'll bring that back and probably go for a final approval on that plan. But just wanted to give you that update. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, meeting adjourned.